Welcome to another edition of ATL Prime Sports. I'm JJ Jurjevich filling in for the one, the only Todd Corder. And again, this is ATL Prime Sports. You can find us on social media at ATL Prime Sports. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can find our host, Todd Corder, at Corder Todd. You can find myself at JJ Get You One. And you can find my fabulous producer right there to my right at RWY Jr. That takes care of the business portion of everything. Wayne, how you doing tonight, man?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. Monday, I got to go to a NBA game. The Houston Rockets were playing the Memphis Grizzlies, and I got invited to the International Paper Suite, and it was very sweet. It all kinds of food. I actually sat in the little chairs that face the court and watched the game most of the time. But Kim had a lot of fun there, and it was a great experience.
Got wined and dined, it seemed
Yeah.
like. No, it's a great experience in a box. I've only been to a box one time, and one of my friends gave me a really discounted box seat at Phillips Arena when it was still called Phillips, not State Farm, and I hadn't been to a box since. So that's great. I'm doing pretty well. Dogs are 10-0, so I'm grinning ear to ear. First time 8-0 in conference play ever. First time they were finished conference play unbeaten since 1982. So this guy's doing just great. What's on tap for today? We will get with Dave Cohen, voice of the Georgia State Panthers, talking about a big win over Coastal Carolina. We're going to talk about the college football coaching carousel. We'll also get to our pick six, and we'll get into the college football playoffs a little bit more with the new week and a new poll. So, Wayne, without further ado, let's go ahead and start with the coaching carousel topic, with Justin Fuentes firing from Virginia Tech. Makes the 12th FBS coach that has been fired. Let's talk college football coaching carousel and who might go where right here on ATL Prime Sports. Folks, if you like these videos, give us a like, a thumbs up, and a subscribe. Let's start with that Virginia Tech job and work our way down. I think that's a pretty good job. I think right off the bat, the first name that comes in for a replacement for Fuente, it's got to be right there in the area. Liberty's Hugh Freeze, who has SEC coaching experience with Ole Miss, and he's done a pretty good job there at Liberty. And he actually took his team down to Oxford a couple weeks ago and played a pretty competitive ball game against a top 10 team in the Ole Miss Rebels. So, Wayne, what say you about the Virginia Tech job? What type of job do you think it is, and who's your first reaction of the firing of Fuente, and who's your first guy that you would hire?
Well, just because it's over in that area of the country, Jamie Caldwell is the first one I thought of, but I've thought of him for several jobs, including LSU. So I'm not sure what they'll do there. Fuente is a former Memphis head coach, and we were sad to see him leave, and we would have rather kept him. But at this point, I don't know if him coming back here might be an option. I mean, we've got the head coach we've got now. We've only had Silverfield for 2 seasons, so.
Yeah, we'll see. That's a pretty prestigious job there in the ACC. Clemson's down. Miami's in a rut. Florida State's in a rut. So the common powerhouses have not been at the top this season. So that job looks a little bit more promising, especially as the days go by. Virginia Tech's got the fan base, they got the boosters, and they got the stadium experience. So I think that job could be filled pretty quickly. Another coaching vacancy, USC, James Franklin, Luke Fickell come to mind to fill that for Clay Helton. And Clay Helton makes his name right back down here in the Georgia area. He takes the job in Statesboro. LSU job will come open at the end of the year. Some other job openings, Washington State, Washington, Texas Tech, Texas Christian, Akron, Massachusetts, and Florida International. And then there have already been 2 jobs filled. UConn with Jim Mora, which is going to be a tough job ahead of them. And, of course, I already mentioned it, Clay Helton right down there in Statesboro in the Sun Belt Conference. And speaking of the Sun Belt Conference, we have the voice of the Georgia State Panthers joining us, Dave Cohen. Dave, I'll ask you, what do you say about this coaching carousel, and what do you think Clay Helton can do down there in the Sun Belt Conference?
It's an interesting hire because you go from Hollywood and Los Angeles to Statesboro, Georgia. That's a little bit of culture shock right there, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, but I was talking to my father off air about this, and I go, that's got to be like a coach's paradise, honestly. Statesboro's got some pretty rabid fans down there, and Georgia Southern football, enough said, right? I think it's a cool job. It's definitely a change of pace from LA to Statesboro, Georgia, where there's, golly, 100% less population down there, it seems like. And but they love football down there, and it might be a guy that if you can get 8, 9, 10 wins a year down there, you finish out your career down there. What do you say, Dave?
Well, no, honestly, Georgia State, Georgia Southern, as you know, is a great rivalry for both schools. But I think the Georgia Southern job is a really attractive job, and I'm not surprised that it would attract someone like Clay Helton to make that transition from the bright lights of Los Angeles and Hollywood, and that conference to the Sun Belt and Statesboro. You're right; they've got a very good built-in and loyal fan base, as Georgia State fans have come to learn. They've had success there. Granted, in recent years, since they joined the Sun Belt, it's been kind of a roller coaster. They've been good, and then they've had years where they have struggled, kind of like this year. But they did make the transition with Appalachian State look seamless when they first left the Southern Conference to come into the Sun Belt. But yeah, I think that honestly, the Georgia Southern job is an attractive job to someone that wants to come into what, from the outside looking in, is a good situation. Nice facility, and they continue to add on and improve Paulson Stadium down there in Statesboro, which on any given Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, as we have come to learn from a Georgia State standpoint, coming down there is a really good atmosphere for football. It's a good atmosphere for basketball and baseball as well, in all of their sports. So yeah, I'm not surprised. I consider that, in the group of five, as long as you can handle living in Statesboro, which, I was just there a few weeks ago. It has all the modern conveniences and stores and the same stuff we have here in the suburbs of Atlanta. So it's really not that big of a deal. And you know what? It's closer to Savannah than Atlanta is. So it has that going forward as well. But
I had a
go ahead.
I had a question about recruiting down there. When I was in high school back in the early 80s, Lowndes County, Valdosta County, and Tift County were always some really big high school football areas. Are they still pretty prominent in football down there?
Yeah, as far as I know,
Yeah.
South Georgia always puts out, there's a lot of good football. You know what they say from a recruiting standpoint, Georgia, Florida, Texas, and California are your top recruiting states in the country. So even though we hear a lot about the metro Atlanta area, the city of Atlanta and the metro area, the surrounding counties, as you know, if you've watched or covered any high school football at all here in the state of Georgia, it really doesn't matter from Atlanta up to the north border with Chattanooga, all the way down to over to Savannah, and then all the way down to the Florida border, and then over to the western part of the state. It's good high school football all over the state of Georgia on any given Friday night, which is why so many college coaches, and not just in college football, but in college basketball as well,
Yes.
are always sweeping in and taking players out of the state of Georgia to really programs all over the country.
Yeah, from Raven Gap down to Brunswick, from Carrollton all the way over to Augusta. You got high school talent everywhere. It seems like per capita, I'd say Georgia's got the best talent in terms of population versus Florida, Texas, and California. Arguably, let's flip over to the big win. Dave, 42-40, a shootout win. Back and forth. Granger threw for nearly 200 yards and had 2 scores. He needed that out of him. Got it. What does this win compare to the Tennessee win in terms of historic victories for the Georgia State Panthers?
Well, that was one of the first questions that came up. And I don't know, from my standpoint, while it is a great win, and technically it is the first win against a top 25 ranked program, I'm still not ready to go out and say that it was a better win than the win at Tennessee. I'm just not. And
I'm shocked.
That's the first win over a Power 5. I'm not saying due to the fact that it's a conference mate that is a top 25 that diminishes that at all. If you would ask me this question 24 to 48 hours, had we beaten Auburn, ranked 23rd at the time, then I would have said obviously Auburn supersedes the Tennessee win. Again, it was a great win at Coastal Carolina. Nobody outside of the personnel and the players and personnel that were on that plane that landed in Myrtle Beach really thought Georgia State had a legitimate shot to go in there and beat Coastal Carolina. The question all week was whether or not Grayson McCall would play.
Yep.
Or we would see the backup Bryce Carpenter. And that's to take nothing away from Bryce Carpenter. But Grayson McCall is the number one quarterback there. He did not play against us. But the reason why I say not much of a drop-off, because they still put 40 points up on the board against us. I was talking, we did a couple of our practice reports for one of our radio affiliates shortly after the game. And, we were talking about how there were some big, 3 of them right off the top of my head, 3 huge plays defensively that we would look at in that game that were what we'll call game-changing plays, and to talk about how well the defense played, while at the same time we gave up 40 points, right? So the 3 plays with a Quavian White interception, Jameel Muhammad's sack, which caused a fumble that we recovered at the 8-yard line and later scored 2 or 3 plays later, and the goal line stand late in the ball game with about a little over a minute to go, and Georgia State leading it 42-40. And of course, they're trying to go for the 2-point conversion and tie the football game. This is my buddy right here, Tux. And of course, we stand him up and stop him at the goal line to preserve the win. And then all we had to do was run a couple of 3 plays and then get to the locker room and, of course, get out of Conway. So, again, a big win. Do I rank it in the top 5? Sure. Is it on my Mount Rushmore? More than likely. And again, just a great win. Granger was, made big plays. Roger Carter made some big plays, some big catches. The cool thing about Darren Granger is he's thrown for 14 touchdowns, but he's only been intercepted 3 times. So, as we have gone week after week, he has taken a better grasp, a more comfortable grasp of that position, making it his own. And now you're seeing Georgia State have the kind of success you have with that kind of a quarterback. Georgia State heading into the Arkansas State game this week has now won 4 out of their last 5 ball games. And a win over Arkansas State is win number 6, and Georgia State becomes bowl eligible with Troy still the final week of the regular season.
Now, is this game against Arkansas State, is that going to be your senior day game?
I'm not sure. I would think it would be the Troy game, but I have not heard one way or the other, because the final 2 games are at home.
Okay, well, it'll probably be that Troy game, but Arkansas State's a lot tougher when they're at home. Their road is they're not too good on the road.
Well, they've struggled this year. They're 2-8 in their first year under their new head coach. And they are 1-5 in Sun Belt Conference play. They just got that first conference win last week, 27-24 at Louisiana Monroe.
Oh,
we're not really in position to take anybody lightly. So
no.
Put out this will be the 8th meeting all time in football between Georgia State and Arkansas State, and they've won 6 of them. So again, I'm sure Coach Elliott is, not going to let anybody in that locker room get a little bit cocky because we won 4 out of 5 because we beat Coastal Carolina.
Sound a bigger horn then.
Dave, listeners, you can catch our guest here, Dave Cohen, at GA State Voice. That's GA State Voice on Twitter. Dave, why don't you tell our listeners how they can catch the Panther Insider podcast and the call of the upcoming football games this weekend and basketball games for that matter? now that the season's tipped off.
Yeah, we're in that time of the year where we've got a lot of crossover. Matter of fact, just got back from Richmond, Virginia this morning with basketball. We played at Richmond last night. Pretty good Atlantic 10 conference school, and did not come home victorious. But we're in that part of the season where we got a lot of crossover. So, we go from football right away, turn around, head out of town with basketball, come back in town, now turn our attention to getting ready for Arkansas State. The Panther Insider podcast, which is our weekly Georgia State athletics podcast. This week, actually two guests. We talked to Jamil Muhammad, who had the big sack of Bryce Carpenter that knocked the ball loose that Georgia State recovered at the 8 that I mentioned, a few moments ago. And then Georgia State's men's soccer team competes in the MAC. And they received an at-large bid to the NCAA men's soccer tournament. So they are heading to Charlotte and will take on the Charlotte 49ers in the NCAA tournament. Second half of our podcast this week after Jamil Muhammad is soccer coach Brett Surrency as they get ready to, again, compete in the NCAA tournament. And then we're back on the radio with football on Saturday afternoon at 1:30 with our countdown to kickoff Panther pregame show for Georgia State and Arkansas State. In Atlanta, 88.5 FM WRAS, and, of course, the GSU Athletics mobile app for those of you that listen on a device. And our affiliate in Gainesville, Georgia, if you're north of the city, WGTJ Glory 97.5 FM. And then basketball's back on the road. They're back in Atlanta now, but they'll be back on the road. They play in the Legends Classic at High Point University up in North Carolina. They've got William and Mary, and then either High Point or Howard University. And then they're on the road back in the Atlantic 10 at Rhode Island. And then Georgia State will close out the football season with Troy, then hopefully wait on an announcement of a bowl game. So it's back and forth with football and basketball this time of the year, but it's fun.
Yeah, you need two of you this time of year, don't you?
Pretty much. As a matter of fact, I don't think I'm going to be able to make the North Carolina, the High Point tournament, because while they're playing on Saturday, we'll be on the air with football. And then Rhode Island is the following Saturday, and we'll be on the air with Georgia State and Troy football. So I don't believe I'll be heading to Rhode Island. And then we'll see what the schedule looks like with regards to a bowl game after that.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, as always, thanks for joining us. I'd like to take a little bit of credit for the win because Wayne and I last week crossed our fingers at the exact same time. We got the W. I say we because I feel like I was part of that with that simple motion of crossing the fingers as you were saying it.
Took 42 points. Everybody was a part of it. You included.
Everybody was a part of it. Dave Cohen, voice of the Georgia State Panthers, right here on ATL Prime Sports. Dave, thanks for coming on as usual. And always go Panthers. We'll be checking out that soccer match.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Dave Cohen, thanks for joining us, man. We'll see you.
Right.
Let's go back to the coaching carousel we were just talking about. I'll let Wayne get a couple comments, and we'll just kind of mention some of the top jobs and who we think may fill them. Wayne, let's go back. We mentioned Virginia Tech. We kind of both got in our comments there. USC, a lot of people are thinking James Franklin may be on his way there. I think it might be Luke Fickell. I don't know if Fickell wants to wait till he's in the Big 12 as a Cincinnati guy. I think he may get that job or at least hold out for a bigger contract for Cincinnati. LSU, that's a juicy job. Everybody wants this one. A lot of eyes at Jimbo Fisher. I don't think Jimbo Fisher's going. I think he's enjoys his stay at Texas A&M, and we all know Mel Tucker. The news broke today. There's rumored to be a $95 million contract heading towards Mel Tucker at Michigan State. So I don't think Mel Tucker's going to leave for Baton Rouge. Wayne, what say you about the top three jobs we're talking about here, Virginia Tech, USC, and LSU?
Well, I kind of want to go back and touch on that UConn hire.
Sure.
I'm excited to see Jim Mora coach anywhere, and it's too bad that UConn's not in the American Athletic Conference anymore. Otherwise, I'd get to see him play a lot more. But as far as the other coaching vacancies, LSU is a big hire, and so is USC. And the thing about USC is that they've got a little bit of the same problem that Tennessee used to have, in which their boosters and their alumni have too much say in who they hire.
It's a very good point. A lot of a lot of fan bases want to hire a new coach right away, and sometimes that just isn't the move. Let's look at Texas, for example. They thought Strong was the guy. They thought Herman was the guy. Now they think Sarkisian is the guy, and they've had the first time they've had 5 losses in decades at Texas. So hiring the guy isn't usually it. Sometimes the guy is just within your system and you don't even know about it. Look at a situation like Lincoln Riley had in Oklahoma. Bob Stoops leaves, Lincoln Riley fills in, and he's been great. So maybe that's the ticket. But I like that what you said about Jim Mora. I really like that hire at UConn. I think everybody's saying, why is he taking the job at UConn? Guys, there's no bar. There's no bar set. Anything he does is going to be better than what Etzel has been able to do in his second stint there.
Right.
Unfortunately, UConn is tough to recruit against. You mentioned it. They're no longer in a conference. They're independent.
Well, I think they're semi part of the Big East, aren't they?
No, I believe they're technically an independent right now, because they're FBS level. So they are an independent, and that could benefit them for schedule-wise. They can have a lot of freedom with the independent schedule. So that's going to be fun to see what Jim Moore does there. But there are 12 jobs that are open. Technically 11, 12 about to be with LSU opening up. And who knows, at the end of the season, there may be a couple more. Any final thoughts on the coaching carousel, Wayne?
Yeah, I'm just I'm pretty sure Memphis is going to keep Silverfield, so that's my main concern.
That's your main concern. Let's keep on keeping on with this thing. Let's talk about the new college football playoff rankings are out. Not a whole lot of change in the top 7. Did the committee get it right again? I have to say no. Until Cincinnati's in the top 4, or at least, in my opinion, the top 3, where I think they should be. I think they're a legitimate top 5 team. No, they didn't get it right. But it is Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, and Ohio State. Cincinnati and Michigan are the first 2 out. But no, they didn't get it right. Like I said, I'll say it once, I'll say it twice, I'll say it 100 more times. Until Cincinnati is in the top 4, the playoff committee hasn't gotten it right. There's a lot of football left. I do say if Cincinnati wins out, the committee will give them the benefit of the doubt with that Notre Dame win, as long as Notre Dame finishes 11-1. Wayne, what's your thoughts on the college football playoff?
Well, the only team that I was questioning being up in there was Ohio State, and I think they got put up there because they had such a big win over Purdue. But, and this is a little bit of me showing my hand, I got a feeling that Michigan State is going to take care of that this weekend.
Ooh, I like the call. I think I see what you're putting down there. Guys, I'm just going to lay a couple stats. The Dogs are the most dominant team. If anybody wants to say that they can't score with Alabama or Oklahoma's, let me give you this stat right here. UGA is second in college football. Second in college football. That's Stetson Bennett, second in college football. 9.7 yards per pass attempt. That's in front of Alabama, behind Ohio State. So they can throw the ball with some of the best teams in the country. UGA has 22 touchdown passes. Sure, it's a lot less than Ohio State and Alabama. But of those 22 touchdown passes, 55% of them have been explosive plays of 20-plus yards. Folks, Stetson Bennett and the Georgia Bulldogs can throw the football. That's an impressive stat to look at going forward. I think this may be the Dogs' year. Moving forward, we will see about that. Any final thoughts on the college football playoff top 25?
Yeah, I don't want to say it's a dog and pony show, but I think they keep people intrigued by swapping teams in and out of there so that fans stay interested.
Yeah, until we get an expanded playoff, I think really these rankings won't matter much, because the only one that matters is the last one, the one going into the playoffs. Let's go ahead and get into our most famous Pick 6 segment. Last week, I went 4-2. TC went 3-3. Wayne, you came in the rear at 2-4. Wayne, you're in second place at 28-38. Todd's in third place at 27-39. And I lead the pack at 31-35. That 4-2 last week really, really helped me out. Pick 6, 3 games, college, 3 games, NFL. We use Monday spreads Let's go ahead and get into it. Wayne, you, then me. We'll put TC's picks up here. And
Right.
folks, this is, again, ATL Prime Sports. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'd love to hear your opinion. Let's get into it. Number 7, Michigan State, 9-1, 6-1 in the Big Ten, travels to Ohio State. Number 4, 9-1, 7-0 in the Big Ten. Ohio State's a 19-point favorite. The over-under in this game is 67. Wayne, what say you?
Well, I'm taking Michigan State in this to once again upset the cart.
Woo-hoo, Michigan State.
19 points is with Ohio State is not really a lot. We saw what they did at Purdue, but I got a feeling Michigan State's going to come in there and ready to play.
Well, hey, I like the pick. Michigan State's going to have to really set the pace with Kenneth Walker, but I don't think that happens. Here's why. This is the third time 2 top 10 teams are meeting in the Big Ten this year. So, number 3 here. The Spartans have the worst pass defense in the Big Ten. Absolute worst. That's not a problem. That's a big problem when you're facing CJ Stroud and the trio of wide receivers that Ohio State has. Look, Ryan Day is yet to lose a Big Ten game. Remember that, folks. He's undefeated. Hasn't lost. And he covers the spread quite often in these games. Give me the Buckeyes to cover the 19-point spread. They put a stamp on the season right here, right now. It's just unbelievable what Ryan Day has done up there. The best scoring offense in the country, 46 points per game. Let's continue this thing. Number 21, Arkansas, 7-3. Very surprising 7-3, but an awesome story with Sam Pittman there. 3-3 in the SEC. At number 2, Alabama. They're 9-1, 5-1 in the SEC. Alabama is a 20.5-point favorite. It's a lot of points. Over/under is 58. Wayne, what you got?
I'm taking Alabama to cover. If this game were in Arkansas, I might take Arkansas on the points. But down in Tuscaloosa, with a team that's rolling as hard as Alabama, I think they'll cover.
Wow, I am actually shocked you went there. I went Arkansas on the points. I think Sam Pittman's going to have this team playing good football. Here's why. Bama struggled to run the ball versus LSU last week. 6 yards to be exact. Arkansas's got a good run D, not allowing over 135 yards since the Ole Miss game when they got gashed. Bama wins, but woo, Pig Suey covers for sure. I think Alabama wins. It's 20 and a hook. I think it's 20 points. I get saved by the hook. Let's go to number 3, Oregon, 9-1, 6-1 in the Pac-12. At number 23, Utah, 7-3, 6-1 in the Pac-12. Utah is a 3-point favorite at home. The over/under is 59. Wayne, what you got?
Well, another cart dipper. I'm going to take Utah at home to cover that.
Oh, wow. Utah at home. That is impressive. We are definitely on the same length as we were last week, which is the opposite day. I am going Oregon. Oregon is a good team. Quarterback Anthony Brown and running back Travis Dye make a dynamic run duo. As Dye ran for 211 yards in their last road game, Brown has run for 60-plus yards in 3 of the last 4 games. Give me the Ducks. They cover, they prove why they're a top 3 team in this country. Let's go ahead and go to the NFL. Again, TC's picks are right up here, ladies and gentlemen. This is Monday spreads, 3 NFL, 3 college. Let's shoot for the Thursday night game. Patriots travel right here to Atlanta, Georgia to take on the 4-5 Falcons. New England's a 7-point favorite. The over-under is 47.5.
I'm taking Falcons in the points. Falcons in the points.
Falcons in the points. I kind of figured. I like it. I got to go with New England. Look, I was trying to find the stats to get an updated stat, but the last updated stat I have was in 2019. Bill Belichick was 12-3 in Thursday night games. He's had a lot of success in these things. Kind of gets my pick going in the right direction. Look, the Falcons have got to do better on third down if they want to have any chance of winning this game.
Yeah, quit going for it on fourth, too.
Awesome. They were 1 for 11 last week versus the Cowboys on third down. 1 for 11. Cordell Patterson is doubtful for the game. That's pretty tough too. Look, New England has 24 sacks on the season. That's good for 9th in the NFL. That's a bad combination. I'm taking the Patriots to cover. Bengals 5-4 at Raiders 5-4. Cincinnati's a 1-point favorite. The over/under is 49.5. Wayne, did you have a final comment on the Falcons game?
No, not really. I'm just a Falcons fan, and I can't help myself.
Hey, that's okay. That's part of the show. And honestly, a quick turnaround after a tail beating sometimes is the best cure for an NFL team. So back to the 1-point favorite, Cincinnati Bengals. Again, the over/under is 49. Bengals at Raiders. Both teams 5-4. Wayne, what you got?
Well, I've got the Bengals because the Raiders, the last 2 times I've picked them, they have really burnt me, and I'm sick of getting burnt. So I'm going to have to go with the Bengals on this one.
Going with the Bengals. Both teams have lost back-to-back games coming in. Bengals off of a bye week. They rebound. I'm going with the Bengals as well there, Wayne. We're on the same page there. Cowboys 7-2, Chiefs 6-4. Kansas City is a 2.5-point favorite. The over/under in this game is the highest of the weekend at 56. That is in the NFL, of course. Dak versus Mahomes for the first time. Wayne, who you got?
Well, I'm going to have to go with the Cowboys. They really showed me something last week, how they put the drubbing on the Falcons. So I'm going to have to go with the Cowboys on that one.
Wow, you and I are on the same there. In the NFL, we're pretty much on the same wavelength there. I like the Cowboys. Look, I think they're Super Bowl contenders for a reason. 2 of the 3 Chief wins in a row have come against the Giants and the Aaron Rodgers-less Packers. Zeke and Dak get the NFL's #1 scoring offense at over 30 points a game going early. They show why they are Super Bowl contenders. Why are they for real? And why this defense, led by Dan Quinn, is a real factor in the way that this team will finish out the season. Give me the Cowboys to cover. Again, folks, Todd's picks are up here. I want to say thanks for listening. Any final thoughts on the show tonight, Wayne?
Well, I'm in Memphis. The football team is starting to kind of wind itself down, and I'm ready to take that ball and watch them put it in the hoop.
Shoot. Well, guys, I'm going to close out with the basketball comment as well. The Hawks are off to a slow start, 6-9. They've had a pretty tough schedule, folks, so settle down. I think Trae Young will get them hooping again, and they'll pick it back up. Get you one, folks. I want to say thanks for listening. If you like the videos, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe. Whatever you do, wherever you listen, just do it. This is a fun show, Wayne. I've had a lot of fun. For Wayne in Memphis, for Todd Corder, I'm JJ Jurjevich. This has been ATL Prime Sports. We'll see you. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Stay tuned to social media. We may or may not be on next week.